I do a little Under the Veil Instagram. Hi, YouTube. How are you doing? I'm just telling the world to watch us. So watch me, watch them. Tell them. Okay. Hey, we're on YouTube Live right this very mother effing second. So head to bit.ly/listenutv. That's listen with a capital L, capital U, capital TV. UTV. Okay, that's good enough. Add to your story. What about the skiing trip that you were just on?
I was awesome. I went to Lutzen at Lake Superior. It was the coldest I've ever been in my entire life. I was really amazed. It was so cold.
Did you ever come here, like, when you were a kid, in the winter, just summers?
I came in at both, but I came in usually, like, around Christmas time, and I feel like it's not as cold. So I've never been here in, like, January, February. It's a different level of cold.
December isn't as cold.
But when I got back to Minneapolis, I was like, it's so warm here because Lake Superior was freezing. I mean, it was like -10 all day on Sunday when we skied.
My brother-in-law lives in Duluth.
Oh, really?
And my husband, we always drive up, and my husband's always like, oh, couldn't you just live here? But I'm from Washington State, and Everett is a city north of Seattle, and it's a port city. And I went to grade school there, and it's very kind of like a similar feel. Like, you drive down the hill, and there's, like, all the city, and, like, really big military ships were based there.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like a really big, not a harbor, it's not a harbor, but it's a port. And I don't know the difference. Second grade. And then
I don't either.
But there's no, like, mountains in Duluth, and it's colder. So
it's a lot colder.
It's like, well, if we were going to live in Duluth, why not just move back home to Washington? And my
Seriously.
parents are like, we would shoot you because we moved here.
Yeah.
For you.
I haven't experienced Duluth at all, which is weird because my cousin lives there.
Pretty.
We were supposed to go this summer and then we didn't make it, but it was so cute. But yeah, I was surprised. I didn't realize, like, you don't think like that much cold can make a difference, but it really does.
What temperature was it?
The first day was 2, and then Sunday was -10.
Yeah,
all day. But it was sunny on Sunday, so
I get that's cold for sure.
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I went to Grand Forks, school in Grand Forks,
mm-hmm.
and the temperature there was like -40, like, all winter. So I feel like I want to be like, yeah, cold, but that is the coldest I'll ever. Like, that's colder than Alaska, and it's like one up from the Arctic Circle.
Oh my God.
Like,
that is just, it's not fathomable to me.
I know, that's cold. That's like, don't expose your eyeballs.
No, yeah,
they'll freeze.
It's amazing. Like every inch of my body was covered, but like you can still feel the cold. I don't know. I still couldn't feel my toes.
Yes, and then you have to, like, think about, is this frostbite?
Yeah. I was literally like, well, 3 of my toes feel really weird right now.
Am I dying?
So am I dying? Yeah. And then you would, like, take your skis off and your feet feel like hot and fiery, and I'm like, is this step 1 of frostbite? Like, I don't know.
Should we just amputate right now? Like,
yeah. I guess there was someone, like, in Jake's program that, like, came here, like, a couple years ago or something from somewhere other than Minnesota, and, like, she got frostbite on her foot, and, like, I don't know if her foot got amputated or her toes or something, because she was just so, like, uneducated about what to wear.
Yes.
And I'm like, that is my biggest fear.
That's not going to happen to you.
Hopefully not. So this isn't I usually would wear my snow boots. These aren't very warm.
Well, I was going to say, because you came from Arizona, where, like, when it gets cold, people are like, break out your winter jackets and your Uggs.
Yeah. And I was, like, joking with Jake this weekend because it was the Phoenix Open this weekend, and it was, like, 82 and sunny there. And I was like, well, all of our friends are getting sunburned, and we're getting windburned. Like, it was so weird.
So great.
Yeah.
82 was really hot.
I know. I was there, like, less than 2 weeks ago. It was already hot. I mean, we didn't really have a winter this year. It was, like, 1 week. I, like, don't know how to talk to people about it without being, like, it's great.
I'm so amazing.
Yeah. Like, I go back and forth, and, like, I really do feel lucky. Like, I feel like I haven't, like, experienced, like, I haven't, like, trudged through the winter and been like, oh my God, because I've gotten tastes of it. You know, I haven't.
Because this is your first year here. You guys moved here in the fall.
Yeah.
But you're not permanent.
Yeah, I go back and forth a lot, even more than I expected, because this happens to be a very big wedding year for my friends. So I'm in a lot of weddings. So I'm going to a lot of bachelorette parties. So I've had to go even more than I thought.
Anyone having their bachelorette party like a destination?
Vegas.
Vegas. Any Nashville?
And San Diego, actually.
Oh.
My friend is getting married in Orange County, so it's not like she lives there.
Right.
But it's still kind of, I mean, for me, I'm like looking at flights. I'm like, I'm going to extend this trip. I'm going to go for an extra day or extra couple days. It'd be cool.
Okay, so you haven't done San Diego yet. Did you do Vegas yet?
No.
Where are you guys staying?
I don't know. They booked it, but I don't know where it is. But I haven't been to Vegas since I was 17.
That's illegal.
So
it's not illegal. But did you drink?
No.
Did you gamble?
No. I really didn't do anything. I went to like the Beatles Love Show.
Yeah.
And like shop.
Oh, I love Vegas.
I'm excited to go back like
and
as
be
an adult. I think we are on the Strip though.
That's so fun.
But my friend was like such a good planner. She planned it so far in advance that it's like really affordable for everyone. And there's like 15 of us going.
Yeah. Or split rooms.
Yeah.
And then stay at the pool. Okay, you can go. I was going to also add to our snow story that in college, this hockey player, he got frostbite on his foot, and he said that he was walking home from the library at 2 a.m. without his shoes. No, he was blackout drunk.
Yeah.
Fell asleep in the snow, lost his foot.
Where would your shoes be at the library? He fell asleep?
Yeah, in the snow. He studied his shoes off. Haven't you heard of that phrase?
You know, I never thought about that because in college I've had quite a few experiences of like seeing people stumble home and you're like, okay, this person's like putting themselves in danger, but the snow is the next level.
That's legit.
Oh my God.
That's like
that's crazy.
No bueno. I'm trying to think of a movie where they freeze. TikTok. Anyways.
Fargo? I don't know. I've never seen Fargo.
Oh, you haven't?
I should watch it.
Oh, no. Okay.
I need to watch it.
We literally just watched it last week because, as listeners know, I'm effing obsessed with movies, but we are getting rid of all of our movies because we're also minimalist, but we get all of our movies from the library, so it's okay. It's a block and a half.
Smart. I do that too. It's fun.
It's the best. And I had a dream that my husband signed me up for an Arizona library card.
Really?
Yes.
How funny.
This is what happens when people are in my life. Like, oh, I'm meeting Paige today. Oh, Arizona library card. Anyways, back to the story. We are watching all of our movies from A to Z. And so Fargo is kind of at the beginning, and we watched it. And it's actually really good. Also, the TV series Fargo.
Is it good too? That's why I felt like I should watch it, because I like to watch the show too.
You have to watch the movie first, I think. Ian will agree.
Cool.
And oh, he disagrees. Okay, well, this is how we watched it. First, we watched the movie, and I did not watch all of it because I used to not be desensitized to movie violence, but now I am. And when I wasn't, I had to watch it like this because it's kind of scary and violent. Yeah. Now it's not. Now I'm like, oh, walk in the park. And so I kind of had watched it. Then we watched season 2 of Fargo, like the TV series. And then season 1. And so I think that's the better way to go because they're not like, they are kind of chronological, but it doesn't matter because they're like in and of themselves.
Huh.
So you don't need to like know things from season 1 to get season 2. And actually, I think they're the other way around chronologically. Like season 2 is the 70s or something like that. Okay, good.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to watch it.
It's so good.
I can't wait.
It's like Game of Thrones, but with an accent. I mean a Minnesota accent.
Cool.
And by Minnesota, I mean not Minnesota accent. North Dakota or like bumfuck Canada.
I'm so excited.
Okay, so Paige Poppy, how are you so lucky to get a cute little alliteration name?
My lovely parents. I really love having an alliteration name. My best friend has one too. I think it's the best thing.
What's her name?
Courtney Clark.
Do you feel like they did it on purpose?
Yeah, they say that they didn't like think that much about it.
Did they?
But I think they did, because I used to get called like Pee-Pee as a nickname growing up, and I'd be like, I'd come home when it was actually a big deal. I'd be like, Mom and Dad, like, how could you name me this? And they were like, we did think about it for a second, but we thought maybe like you could live with it. And I'm really glad they did, because it worked out well to have a memorable name for having a business.
Yeah. I know, Josie Stafford. Well, that's my married name.
I still think that's memorable, though.
Just because Josie.
Yeah.
Josie Grossi. That was my fourth
Oh
grade
my
drama.
God.
And
Oh.
I don't really remember it, but my mom is like, you would come home crying because they would make fun of you. I'm like, okay, whatever. Drew Barrymore, you're on my shit list, but other than that, I don't care. Okay, cute. So I'm just gonna jump right in. I was looking at your website again, and on there you have a little client review. Caitlin said of working with you on her wedding stationery, quote, it allowed us to be creative and incorporate our own personal touch alongside Paige's beautiful watercolors. It was a fun, easy, and seamless process, which I would recommend to any of my soon-to-be bride friends, end quote. Okay, so what's this seamless process she's talking about when it comes to stationery and having it be custom designed?
Well, that was such a nice review. So seamless being, I have a system. I mean, I'm flexible with the system when it comes to wedding stationery clients because everyone's kind of different, has different budgets, and just, you know, they have different places where they want to spend their money, or maybe they want to put their money into like all the different pieces. But as far as seamless goes, I, throughout my design process, like I meet with them, I figure out the vibe they want, and then I, through each round and sending them like a design document basically they can flip through that has all of the designs. And so when we start, like for the invitation RSVP card and the details card, for example, that's what she had. There was like 6 different designs for each that we were working with. And
okay, so how do you like send it to them?
So I use Honeybook.
Okay,
which
so
is
you're sending them PDFs
and Honeybook, and I love that because email chains get crazy with design files.
So it's disgusting.
It's so terrible, and it's hard because sometimes I have to like walk my clients through and be like, look, I know you, like sometimes they really want to do email.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know you do, but like you're gonna be driving yourself crazy by the end of it.
I don't think they notice a difference, right? Because, or do you have it set up?
Yeah, because they can just reply.
It pushes to your email.
Yeah. The only difference is like to view the design file, they usually have to like click into Honeybook and look at it.
Yeah.
But then there's like the tab where it shows like all the design files I've ever sent them, and they're in order. So if they're like, oh, I really liked that first design we had like one revision ago, they can go back and look at it.
I think that's such a good point.
Yeah.
Is that it's nice to get out of email for certain things.
Seriously. It's been very helpful for me because especially I think the biggest advantage, as simple as it is being able to open Honeybook and just see a list of who I'm working with because
and what process they're at. Do you
exactly
use like
I use the
timeline?
Timeline across. It's kind of funny because I feel like I'm in the design phase with them for so long, and then it's kind of like we print and we're done. You know, unless I'm like mailing for them or something. But just being able to make sure I've like checked in with like the people often enough.
Yes.
You know, so I guess that would be why she would say it was seamless. That was very nice of her. So there's a lot of like, it is tricky because it's not streamlined to the point where it just can. I just don't think stationery can be streamlined 100% because there is a certain level of back and forth where it's like, okay, you kind of take out like this period, you know.
Yes.
So there ends up being a little bit more back and forth.
Right.
With stationery, but try to make it as seamless as possible. Keep it all in one place. Just have, you know, the way, you know, set it up the way it's going to work. Have some systems.
And you can tell too, right, when you first are starting to work with a client, if they're going to be a little more nitpicky, or if you can just be like, here, I like this the way it is, and then send it off. And they're like, oh, I love it too. Okay, great, done.
Yeah, you can always tell. And it's very fascinating to me how much it differs. It's just people's personalities. I had one client I just worked with. I swear to God, we had like no revisions ever. She'd be like, love it. And I'm like, how about this? Love it. I'm like, here's the font I would recommend. Usually I do like a few fonts, but she had already told me like which one she liked. I was like, here's what your invitation looks like. Done. Like, okay. It was like so cool. And so now we're doing more pieces, which is fun for her. Like we really were so ahead that we have like a lot of freedom to do more. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I think that's so great too, especially coming from a wedding planner standpoint, and sometimes being caught in the middle. If there can be like less back and forth, I think I'm learning that too as time goes on in my own business, is that at some point I just have to say, okay, great. Like, don't include me in any further communication unless there's an emergency. Like, you guys go for it.
I always wonder about that because a lot of times clients will ask for me to have their wedding planner on our Honeybook conversation. And I'm wondering to myself, I'm like, they are getting so many emails. Like, at what point are they like, turn it off?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I actually, like, I love that perspective, but I don't mind being
good.
like in the background.
Yeah.
I think too, the other thing I'll do is if my clients feel like, oh, can we just keep you CC'd? I'll be like, that's fine. But just heads up, I'm not going to be responding. So usually I can tell from reading the email if it's like, Josie, do you think we should do this? You know, and if there isn't that, I'll just be like, okay, I read last week's emails. Like, just says like, I'm here too in the peanut gallery, but don't feel like I'm ignoring you, but don't feel like you have to include me more.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes that is nice, just a quick glance.
It's good.
That
And then
me.
For me, it's been really positive because a lot of times at the end, like actually Caitlin, who left that review, had her wedding planner in, and it was mostly just she was in the background until the very end. They actually had like 4 or 6 like different events. It was 4 events that people had to RSVP to, like different like little parties
rehearsal
and stuff.
Dinner,
and she
brunch.
really helped me like nail down all those details, and then the clients didn't have to. Yeah.
And the location.
Yeah, and they were like it was like the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th. Like it was very thorough. So it was helpful to have someone who was very detail oriented to do that.
Right. And sometimes I think that's that's nice to have another set of eyes too. A lot of times my clients will be like, oh, can you just look at our invitation? Like, does it look right?
Yeah.
You know,
I even have my boyfriend look it over sometimes because he's really a detail oriented person. And so I want him to see any punctuation or and like even if, because at a certain point it's the client's responsibility because like they sign off and they're like, it's good. And I always review it.
Wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always review it for them because I don't like, even if it's their fault, technically, you know, quote unquote, I don't want them to end up with that. You know, that's not fun. So we always like and then they'll like print it out, show their mom, like everyone's reviewing it. So it's good. I wish there was like a system for that. That would be cool.
There isn't. It's called humans.
Yeah.
That can't be a bot.
Yeah. Because people's last names aren't in spell check. So. It works well.
I think that's great. I have my husband do the same thing, but he is not like a grammar or like a spelling freak. He is like, does this sound like your wackadoodle?
Like just flows.
Yeah. So he'll be like, oh, that sounds weird. And I'll be like, oh, okay. I put a comma in. Does it sound better? And he's like, oh, yeah, that sounds better. You know, so he just is like kind of this overarching, like, you sound like a wackadoodle.
Yeah.
Like,
I like so appreciate that. My friend the other day texted me and was like, your website looks great. I just looked at it. By the way, you have a typo. I hope you aren't offended.
I love that.
And I was like, I love you so much.
I love
Because
that.
it was a page I had updated like the day before. I didn't even notice. And I was like, Tara came through for me.
And some people are offended.
Yeah.
So it's nice when
not
you can
me.
just be like,
I don't like typos. I would like to be told.
I would like to be told, yes. And then like when it comes to like when other people are writing stuff, you know, do you ever get like my name gets misspelt all the time? I don't care. Sixpence, like a lot of people spell it like 2 separate words, 6 pence, and it's like whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, that's wrong, but that's okay. You're not British. So
yeah.
You don't know what coin that is. Okay, awesome. And what if a bride or a groom is really creative and they want to create their own invitation suite? Maybe I feel like you're open and willing to give some advice on what their process should be and kind of what timeline they're looking at.
Ooh, sure. So let's start with the timeline just because in my brain that like makes sense.
And people never leave enough time.
Never. Even when they reach out to me, they don't. A lot of times leave enough time. And I will rarely say no. I mean, sometimes I'm like, if it's 4 weeks, we can't do anything about it. You know, like to design
There's this website called Minted.
Yeah. I'm like, here you go. Sorry. I will do my best though, because I mean, I can be a quick worker and quick designer, so I'll try to help them when I can. But if you're doing your own timeline-wise, it's recommended to send your invitations 6 to 8 weeks in advance.
Yep.
I have had clients go up to 12 weeks, especially for destination weddings, or maybe I actually have a lot of clients who have like moved to Arizona and then most of their family is in the Midwest.
Right. You want to give them extra time.
You want them to get extra time because especially with flight prices and stuff, it's just kind of, I don't know how another way to say it besides it's rude to like not give your clients like that window, you know?
Your guess.
Yeah, your guess.
There is a caveat though.
Yeah.
Is if your family's super tight knit or you have a smaller guest list and everyone already knows anyways.
They know. And you send them honestly, you can like send them an email or like have your mom call them.
Sometimes the save the dates are
save the date.
Effective.
Yeah. Save the date is plenty. Like I love having a save the date because now I'm getting older now that I'm getting invited to a lot of weddings and I understand like all the courtesies and things too. So, it's nice to do that. So I would say 6 to 8 weeks. Save the dates are like 6 months, maybe 4 months.
Yeah, agreed.
I would say 6 if you can. Some people will do like 8. It's really depends. I don't know. I had my friend of a friend did like a year or something in advance, like very far, a year and a half or something. So I would keep all that in mind. And if you're designing your own, it's interesting because from my perspective, I don't know how fast other people do things. I like work quickly because I'm a very like decisive person.
Right.
But I would say if you're doing your own, minimum give yourself 2 months.
Minimum. And like 2 months of actually like working on it,
and then give yourself like another 2 weeks to do all the print, maybe even actually 3 weeks. You could go up to 4 for printing and ordering envelopes and everything, especially if you are going to be searching for sources and printers, unless you're doing that like during your design process and you have it all set to go. But
unless you're a graphic designer, you already have a printer, so you already know I'm gonna go into work and I'm gonna print 120 while my boss is at lunch.
Totally. Or you, I don't know. I always like the phrase everything takes like twice as long or 3 times as long as you think it's going to.
Right.
Which ends up being really true actually if you think about it. So I would do that, and then give yourself like 2 weeks to mail them out. I usually give my guests at least, like usually we only have about enough room for them to have 2 weeks to mail them out, just based on when people reach out to me. Because like I said, I'm not very strict. I'm not like, I won't take you unless it's 6 months in advance. I'm not like that kind of person. But give yourself 2 weeks, especially if you're going to be like hand addressing or stamping or licking or anything. I don't think people realize like how long it takes to do 100 of anything.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
It's a long time.
And guess what? If you are rushed, the first 10 look perfect and the rest of the 90 look like poop.
Yes.
Because you're like, I don't care that the stamp is askew. And not that, like, honestly, in the world of worlds, that doesn't really matter. But you might feel like a little more negative about the process if you're like, okay, like just put the nice 10 on top so I don't have to see the other 90 anymore.
Yeah. And you definitely want the space and the excitement to go into each part of your wedding. Like I always say, like personally, when I get married, I'm going to give myself like minimum a year for everything because I actually want to enjoy the process and not be like, screw this.
Yeah, and like get feedback from your partner too. Like, hey, do you like this? We have to send them out right now, so you have to decide. Like, instead, it can be like, hey, do you like this? I don't know. Let's go to dinner and talk about it. Okay.
Yeah.
La la la.
Yeah,
la, la,
that sounds
la,
a lot more fun to me.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and your engagement should be fun. Okay, so just a recap, and this will be in the show notes, everyone that is listening. 6 to 8 weeks before your wedding is a suggested time to send out your invites. That time frame can fluctuate whether your guests are in town or out of town, or flying into your wedding, or a small guest list or a large guest list, or maybe they don't like you, so they need a lot of time to decide if they should go to your wedding. 6 to 4 months before your wedding, you can send save the dates. You don't have to send save the dates.
No, people do it online. People do it. I had a friend that did a Facebook group.
Right.
Which ended up being really kind of nice because like the day before the wedding,
updates.
She told us like, oh, come 30 minutes early.
Yeah, that's nice. Yes. Yeah. And also Zola has a really slick RSVP online management where you can collect emails and then send updates and all that stuff. I like that little guy. Yeah. Little guy. And then maybe give yourself 2 months to design and then 2 to 4 weeks for printing. So if we're talking about, and then 2 weeks to mail. So 2 months and 6 weeks is, let's just say, 3.5 months. So if you're sending,
I would bump it to 4 just because of the mailing time too.
So if you're if you're getting married in May, we'll just do this out. And May is the 5th month of the year.
Yeah.
Then you are going to want to start the whole process around December.
Yeah.
So I'll give you 6 months to kind of get your shit together. Maybe there's more than that. Yeah, 2 weeks to mail. Oh, that's from math is hard. Okay, start in October. Start right now.
Start as soon as you can.
Or call me and I'll get it done for you sooner.
Because I even had someone reach out for an April wedding like last week.
Yeah.
And in my head I'm like, ooh, this is tight, but it's very doable.
Also, maybe you're done with fairs in Arizona, so you can have like a little more time.
Yeah, I have a very like focused work month this month. Normally I'd be like, I do have like an event coming up in March. Yeah. So, yeah, like that'll be a month where I'm like, this might not be possible. Right. Because I'm not going to be like dishonest. Like I want to go into it and be like, look, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I can do it. And then I can't,
Right. Like, oh, I have 14 other weddings, but I'll squeeze you in.
Yeah.
Everyone's quality will go down, but it'll be okay. No. And that kind of begs the question of the pros and cons or the differences between working with you, a stationery designer, versus buying online, since you're also kind of online. Like, let's talk about the differences.
Sure. So I just think it's nice to have someone along for the ride with you to make recommendations. Things I do for my clients are, for example, I send them verbiage from past clients. So like the wording they've used for their invitation, their RSVP card, their details card. So you're not going to miss anything and go to print and be like, oh my God, I should have asked them if they want chicken or fish. Like those are in those examples I've done. What's another advantage is you're not going to have someone's logo printed on your stationery. I do not put my logo on your stationery. I thought about this morning, thinking about you from a minimalism standpoint. I thought it might be interesting to touch on this, that I do understand where the stationery would be something that someone would want to cut out, either for their budget or because they think it's something people are just going to throw away. Right. So something I've started doing with my clients that actually I've been doing it for almost every suite now is typically like your invitation is very straight to the point. So you have the back side totally blank. You can put like your details on the back, but usually people will do like a separate details card or just put it on their website. So the invitation is usually 5x7, which is a standard framing size. So for majority of my clients, we've been doing the back of their invitation as an art print. Yes. And then all their guests save it. Yeah, maybe I jumped ahead, but all their guests save that. And then I've even had some clients will put like a little passage on their details card that says, by the way, this is from a local artist and it's suitable for framing. Sometimes it'll have my signature on it. I don't like require it, but sometimes it just looks like an art print then. And then our goal with that is that they're going to save the suite.
Yes, and not waste it. Yeah. I love, love, love that. And then that's kind of really a sweet momentum. Plural? Memento. Singular. Okay. Oh. So it's kind of something nice that then they could give to their wedding guests. Like, you're invited to this wedding, and it's going to be, like, hella kick-ass, and here's a gift.
Yeah, it's like a gift from the beginning.
Your invitation is a gift.
Yeah, yeah. And, like, think about if you're doing let's say you're doing an invitation and RSVP card, and then you opt to do an envelope liner. They're sending the RSVP back to you, so that gets used. The invitation becomes an art print, and then I'm the kind of person, I save a lot of paper goods. So, like, if I had a really pretty envelope with, like, my name hand-lettered and, like, a cool envelope liner, I would save it. So then you're ending up with, like, 3 pieces that don't get thrown in the trash. Yeah. It's recyclable, luckily, but still, I think it's cool to do that.
And you could also do that for, like, your table numbers.
Yes.
And have the table number on one side and then a print on the back. And you could be like, yes, feel free to bring those home. Or I love, 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 too, when couples put their picture on the back. I think that's like, well, that's what your grandma and your aunt want. They want pictures of you.
They want cute stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's very true. Or I had a client, we haven't moved forward with it yet, but we were thinking about doing like every centerpiece would be like a different mountain in Arizona. Yes. So like, oh, you're at the Camelback table. And Camelback. Then those would be art pieces. So maybe, I'm sure they could take those home themselves or give them to their guests, but they could take those home and like frame them and have like a little gallery wall of mountains. So there's a lot of room for doing that.
Digression. Yeah. You guys go hiking, right?
Yeah. I'm not the best hiker. My boyfriend's better. Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Have you ever been to Verrado?
No.
It's like it's before Scottsdale, right? It's like northwest of Phoenix. So Goodyear, and then the next one is Verrado.
Yeah, I've never been there.
Okay, there's this hill, and we call it Caterpillar Hill because it's like pretty much straight up. I don't know why we call it. Oh, because you're like inching along.
Oh,
it's so steep. So we're doing that one again, and then we were joking because a few years ago when we went, we did white tanks.
Oh yeah.
And we got lost.
Oh my gosh.
So We had like no cell service. We had one water bottle, and we were gonna go just for like a quick little like 1 mile jaunt, or like maybe 3 miles. We were like, whatever we feel like. Josie had the map. Josie failed, and we were gone for 5 hours, and we did 10 miles. And we get back to like because it's a national park, right?
Yeah.
We get back to the ranger station or whatever it's called, and we're like, can you just kind of maybe show us where we went? Because we kind of think we hit this place. And they're like, oh yeah, we had to helicopter a guy out of there last week.
Oh my God. I am so glad you survived. This is like my biggest, this is a PSA aside from wedding stationery. If you ever go to Arizona, please be very realistic about your hiking.
Bring water.
And bring like 2 camelbacks.
Or more.
Or like a camelback each, and put like water bottles in the side pockets.
Yeah.
It terrifies me. Like, I went hiking in Sedona on this hike that was like 4 hours. It was like 10 miles or 8 miles or something. And I drank like 2 camelbacks worth, and I was still thirsty. And I saw like families coming in with like
nothing,
1 water bottle in their hand. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so afraid for them. And like small children.
You guys are going to have urine problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kidney problems for life.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, do you have any other suggestions of hikes?
I mean, Camelback Mountain is really incredible, but it's very difficult. And depending on the time of year you go, it's already hot now. I would say, I mean, already I would go at 6 a.m. if you're going to do it. And then in the summer, wake up at 3, get to the mountain at like 3:30 or 4.
We're going March. We'll be there March, first week.
Yeah, I would say like...
P.S. When you listen to this, it's past March. Yeah. So sorry.
If someone's listening past March and they're going to do it, like for you in March, I would say be coming down the mountain at sunrise and try to be really realistic. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're not going to take your advice, but I appreciate it.
Oh my God.
But I'll live.
But be careful. It's like, it's
gonna be so hot.
Cliffy. I heard someone I know saw someone like break their ankle on it the other day, and it's like quite the ordeal because like all the fire departments from like Phoenix, Tempe, and Scottsdale come, and they have to like literally their best option is to carry you up the mountain the rest of the way,
and then airlift
you off the top. Which I hope you have good insurance. Not you specifically. It's on Omen.
Last August, we went to caves in Tennessee, and the guy was like, okay, if anyone feels like heart like palpitations or like you can't do this, tell us now, because it takes 3 hours to lift you out of the cave because it's so like tiny, and like they have to put you on a gurney and like you know, like baton toss you
that sounds so painful.
out of the cave.
Oh my
2 miles underground, no big deal.
Oh my gosh.
Do you have you ever seen a lizard?
Yeah.
Like a Gila monster or anything?
Yeah.
You have?
Pretty big ones, yeah.
Do you ever use that as inspiration for your stationery? No.
That's a really good idea.
There's a lot of cactus.
I use a lot of cacti. I use a lot of florals.
Roadrunners.
Yeah. I'm really into birds right now, so I'm doing a lot of quail work. That's a really good idea, like lizard or like rattlesnake patterns, like on their back in like bright colors.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yes.
I love it.
I'm your muse.
I love it.
That's
so
awesome.
good.
Well, because I feel like we were talking about lizard stories the other day, so that's why. What is the best way for a bride and a groom, or bride or a groom, to capture their wedding stationery? Because I feel like that is a thing right now, flat lays.
Yes, it totally is. I really think the best way is a flat lay, or even sometimes when you do a flat lay, if you have a lot of pieces, you don't even like see all the special details.
Yeah.
So it's cool to do like a detail shot with like maybe just your invitation, your envelope, and like your rings or like a flower. I had a photographer do that recently for a styled shoe, and it would be like just one card with a floral piece, and it was so pretty. I would love to get better at this. If I only did like custom for people,
right,
I would be able to do this, but I like doing semi-custom and custom. But to have a special set like all prepared for them to give to their photographer and say like, this is for flat lays the day of the wedding.
Right.
I don't want to always assume that like that they've like the client has paid for enough coverage from the photographer to include that, but maybe they would just save it for themselves and shoot it on their own. But then the second thing I do is I've been making these like digital flat lays, which is kind of how I started. I recently like revamped like all my guides and everything for the new year, so the way it looks. So it's like a digital flat lay, so everything looks like perfect and you can see everything and read everything, and that's really pretty. And if I make one of those and my client wants to like repost that or just like have that image, they're welcome to.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a good way to save it. I always recommend them too to have like a few extra copies for like, I call it memory keeping or keepsake.
Do you suggest like 15% extra, or is that too much?
You know,
for envelopes, if you're doing handwriting.
I usually say like 5 keepsake ones, just because you typically have to order stationery in like increments of 5 to 10. So I usually say 5 for keepsake, but if they're gonna like address their own envelopes, I mean, I've gotten to the point now where I buy like 10 extra for mess ups, but I would say I recommend to them, if they're gonna do their own lettering, like at least 20, because
it doesn't matter how many total they're getting. It's just like 20. Usually you make like 10 mistakes, and then you're like, okay, Josie, if you make one more mistake, lashes.
Yeah. I would say like, honestly, I would say if you're gonna have 100 guests, I would do like 120 envelopes, because you might mess up 20 times. 20 extra. If you're really like don't trust yourself, maybe 25.
If your handwriting sucks, maybe don't do it.
Yeah. Maybe we should do printing for you.
But I think that is a good point, that a lot of people, myself included, are like, I'm just gonna DIY. It'll be good. I'll learn how to do it. We just did our floors, hardwood floors. We like sanded them down and
oh my gosh,
all of that jazz. And so I feel like I'm Superwoman and I can do anything. Like calligraphy, yeah. Where do I trace? I'm the best tracer. So I feel like I would want to just DIY, but I would also get really frustrated, like we were saying before, after the 10th one when I start messing up. And so I'd want to push through and just finish it, let's be honest. But I'd want to give myself enough time.
Give yourself time for that.
Like, I would want to relieve the stress and anxiety I have about messing up by having extras.
Very true. Yeah. And you might not think that's important. You'd be like, oh, I can always buy more. But literally, like, that subconscious reminder that you can mess up is very helpful. I would say my biggest thing, if you're going to do it yourself, the one thing I would say that you should either print or do a return address label for is your return address, either like in the corner of the invitation envelope, or like, your RSVP envelope has your address, like it's on all 100 envelopes because they're sending it back to you. You do not want to write the same address like 100 or 200 times.
I love a stamp.
Yeah, a stamp is cute. I should have said a stamp too. I have a lot of connections for people who do custom stamps also that like I can refer people to, because writing guest name is one thing and you get the different changes in the letter, but when you're doing the same thing, it's going to start to like tilt and things are going to be like smaller and bigger, and like you just don't want that. And
then you have to finish like fit in IAN, and you have like a centimeter and the A is like woo, and it ends like
yeah, you don't want that at all.
That's how mine would look. It would be atrocious. I think I did hand write all of my invites.
Wow.
Honey, fact check me. Because there used to be this place in Minneapolis right by the farmer's market where it was called like Paper Depot. And you could go and you could buy all stationery, like anything.
Oh my God.
And the coolest part is you could do die cuts for invitation, like because like the storybook fold out, whatever, that used to be a thing. I'm dating myself so cool. Bad right now. So you could go in and you could cut the paper, and then you could have like the folds put in. And so then I took them home, folded them, glued, put the insert cards, all of that. DIY. Holla.
Wow. That's crazy because they like laser cut all of that now.
Yes.
Usually.
That company went out of business. So
I wish I was still around. That
you would love
really
it.
Fun.
It's it's way better than Paper Source.
So cool.
Sorry, Paper Source. But it doesn't exist anymore.
Is that a Minnesota business?
Sure.
I don't know. My theory is that 90% of businesses that I enjoy are Minnesota businesses.
Minnesota.
It is shocking.
Shocking.
I'm like, oh, I love these egg rolls. Minnetonka. It's really fascinating, actually.
Minnesota is terribly underrated. So anyone listening, not in Minnesota, Texas, California, I'm talking to you. Yeah. Minnesota is bomb diggity. Yeah. And obvi, the Super Bowl proved it. But other things also.
Yeah. It's very impressive. The industry, the amount of industry is shocking.
Yeah.
I think it's 300 of the... Is it 300 of the Fortune 500 companies are from Minnesota, based in Minnesota?
Oh, yeah.
Like, 3M.
General Mills. Target.
That
Honeywell, thank you,
wow.
Ian. That one caterpillar or whatever.
Oh, really?
No, I don't know. They moved.
Oh.
Okay, so let's talk about envelopes.
Okay.
So order extra in case you F up. But also, let's talk about sizes, stamp needs, inserts, liners, which
Yes.
is like totally my new favorite thing ever.
Yes. They're
What
so good.
are all those things I just said?
Typical sizes are going to be an A7.
A7.
I'm getting into the lingo here. That's
no, I think that's good. A7 is for a 5x7.
for a 5x7.
Easy
And then
to
an
remember.
A2, which is about 4.25 by 5.5 inches. That's like a standard greeting card that you'd find in a shop, and that's good for like your RSVP unless you want to go smaller. But as far as those are the main two.
Is a 4.25, 5.5? That's a little bit bigger than a postcard.
It's actually
Or
a little bit
different
different. So a
orientation.
postcard is 4x6, so you're going like shorter in one direction and a little bit taller.
What
in
if they want to
other.
do a postcard? Then
They
you
can
don't need an
totally do
envelope.
too. You don't need
Duh.
an envelope. And like for my clients, I typically set up for them so one side is glossy and one side is matte, so their
Yeah.
clients' pens will work on it,
Yeah.
which is good.
Because I've had that before weddings I've been invited to, where you're like, okay, let's RSVP, and it's like you can't write on it. It's like
Yeah.
one of those shitty business cards.
Yeah, and then like you could do a Sharpie, but Sharpie does rub off of shiny surfaces, so you don't want that. I had one client where we ordered it, and I think we ordered like letterhead, and it printed like really shiny, so we reordered it because it was just like this can't be written on. So you have to pay attention
Also,
to that.
digression. Do you ever have clients wanting you to print one so they can color match?
Yeah, I do have clients who want to do a proof. It's like an additional.
Say something high in case we forget the number.
What do you mean?
An additional $200.
Oh no, I say it's an additional service, but the biggest thing with that is it ends up being a time thing.
Yes.
Because as much as like I have a timeline that we're always in Honeybook that we're always working along with,
Right.
and clients think like, oh, the timeline's great, but they don't realize like how much time they're actually going to spend to like make decisions. So they might get something Monday and then take till Friday, and then that happens like 6 times, and then we're at the end. So the proof is great, but I mean it adds another like 7 business days, and sometimes you just like don't have that kind of time.
Right.
But
so
a lot
it's
of
like
times
if you want
people
to
will
proof,
want it. Yeah.
Proofs. If you want to peruse, you have to get it and then look at it and decide and be like, okay, we need to get back to her by tomorrow. Like we got it today, and
Yeah.
we have to tell her tomorrow.
Well, like I mean, I recently had someone reach out like for like a 2019 wedding,
Mm-hmm.
and like that kind of person, I'm like, we could do so much, and you could have a proof of everything. If
And
you
I will
wanted
hand
to.
letter all of it.
Yeah.
And each one will be an individual print.
Every single one will be original.
Okay, so the envelope sizes, those are kind of like the standard.
Yep.
And then what about those little teeny tiny RSV cards?
Yeah, you can
Do people
do
do
that,
that anymore?
too. I haven't done. Personally, I haven't designed a really small one. Actually, one of my clients I'm working with right now, we're gonna do a small one that just has like their website, but it won't be mailed back.
Right.
The post office has regulations that I am now very well versed in because I had a client who was really into them, and I actually really appreciate her for that because we did everything down to like 14-point versus 16-point paper, like the paper weight, but they do want it like typically like that greeting card size, like that A2 size. I don't think they really want you mailing much smaller, and there is more risk involved with it just like being lost because it just slips into little places.
I mean, technically, if you do the little teeny tiny one, then maybe you should do hand canceling.
Yeah.
Because then instead of it going through a machine,
Yeah.
it's a person, a human, not a bot.
Totally. And then there's so much variety with envelopes. There's A6, there's A10. I do a lot of other various card sizes, but when I'm going like bigger than 5x7, we're typically doing like the program or the menu.
And that's not something
And
you
that's
mail.
day of. You don't mail
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can be a lot bigger, and you don't have to worry about it getting bent. And then should we talk about the postage and the weight?
Hell yeah, we should.
Yeah. So I tend to be like, well, I have a postage scale because I ship orders.
Yeah, my husband does too.
Yeah.
eBay.
Yeah, it's awesome. Oh, really? That's awesome. Mine is literally a food scale from Target because Target, fun fact, does not sell postage scales. They only have food scales. It's very strange. Same diff. But so the rule of thumb is like a forever stamp covers up to 1 ounce, like 1 ounce letter.
Yes.
I have a client right now who is about to she's mailing her own suite out. I lettered everything, but she's like stuffing it and all that because that's like additional service I offer. But some people I can see why it'd be fun to do it on your own, like with your fiance.
With your or with your mom or friends or
totally
whatever.
It's fun. So her suite has a envelope with a liner, an invitation, an RSVP card, an RSVP envelope with a stamp and a details card. And I didn't have her exact suite in front of me, but I had some similar pieces, and I did a little weight test, and it came out to about 1.1 ounce, and that's before that additional like stamp on there. So if you're gonna go over an ounce, so 1 ounce covers the forever stamp. If you're gonna go over, each additional ounce is about 21 cents of postage. So at that point, you're gonna want to put 2 stamps on there. You can just make it easy for yourself and put 2 forever stamps, or you could do 2 different ones.
Otherwise, you can go, this is the option that people think that they are going to do, and then they get to the post office and they're like, that's an ugly idea, is you go in, they weigh it, and then they put that sticker
for the exact amount of like 62.
And they're ugly. They're
very,
ugly.
very.
So if you don't give a shit, or if one of you works in the post office anyways, and you're like, oh, look, this is us.
Yeah. So you can plan ahead. Like, you can even buy your postage like online in advance. Usually the post office has everything in stock that they like, their designs.
Yeah.
Unless they sell out.
Their designs aren't great.
No, except I had a client that was only doing 15 suites. She had a small wedding.
Yeah.
And her whole suite was purple and green succulents, and the post office had a green succulent stamp, but it was an international stamp. So it was like $1.15 each. And she really only needed like 60 cents of postage. But I was like, I was like, are you down? Just because it was $15 for her, you know, and we were like, yeah, let's just do it.
Yeah.
So we did that, and it was really cute.
Yeah, and this is the difference between having an ample stationery budget and having a really like slim pickings stationery budget, is because $15, like, let's all be real, $15 does not sound like a lot, but when you are looking at how much money you have for your wedding, $15 is like whatever the straw that broke the camel's back, or like, it's everything, and it feels like insurmountable. Like, $15 could be another boutonniere.
And think about, for her, she had 15 suites. A majority of my clients have at least 100 suites. Right. So that's another, well, I should have said like $115 because it was $1 and some change. So that's a lot. Right.
It adds up. Yeah. So just things to think about when you are making design choices, or what elements you want to include. That if you are like, okay, yeah, for sure, let's have all these inserts, well, then that's going to be more postage.
Totally.
Or a bigger envelope.
A little bit more, or a bigger envelope. If clients do it far enough in advance too, I also offer like postage stamps that I've designed that match the artwork from their suite. So that's really fun too. But that's something that has to be done
because you have to order it
in advance. Yeah, it takes a long turnaround time.
Yeah,
for whatever
I
reason.
love that. And then that'd be cute if you did custom ones that have their face in it, or her ring or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's stamps. And then we were talking before that there are some places on Line like Etsy that have custom stamps, or like really one-off unique stamps that you can purchase. And Idlewise Post is the one on Etsy. Patrick is from Minneapolis.
Yeah, speaking of industry being here, this is a guy that I followed for a long time, and then I was like, oh, he's in Minneapolis too. He like sources all these incredible vintage stamps, so you could do like vintage Arizona saguaros. It's definitely important to note that like the postage does still apply from whatever it was like back in the day. So if it's like a 9-cent stamp, it's only going to be 9 cents. So you have to put a lot on there. So you might see online like really pretty wedding stationery has like 10 stamps. That's why.
Yes, or that's fake.
Yes.
Like,
yes. Please
like
know it's
like
usually fake.
It has like a couple of stamps on the envelope, and it looks so pretty. But remember, guys, that picture is probably an envelope of something that didn't get sent.
Totally.
So that kind of take that into mind. Also, Patrick says that his grandpa, Earl, was an avid lifelong stamp collector.
I just would love to meet this Patrick. I should comment.
Everybody, Idlewise, you know how to spell it. You don't, but
maybe you should
it'll
have
be
him
in
on the podcast. Maybe I'm sure a lot of his business is wedding.
Stamps.
I think, if I'm correct, if not him, other like, sorry to cut off your rap there.
Everybody stamps.
If he doesn't do this, I know other vintage postage sellers do. They will have like bundles on there, and they will write like, this will cover 6 1-ounce letters.
Because how much is a forever stamp right now? 53?
I think it's about 50 51 or 53.
51?
It was,
Okay.
the other day I was like, oh, what is it, 42?
No.
And I go look, I'm like, oh my
it keeps
God.
going up.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's why they did it. The forever stamp. It's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
They're like, who knows how much it is.
Yeah. I should go buy a ton. I don't know if you follow like Rifle Paper Co.
Yes.
Yeah, she has a new stamp she designed. I really felt stupid because she like had this official release thing and did like a signing event, and it was in Phoenix and I was in town.
Shoot.
And I like totally spaced and didn't go. But she has really pretty ones and they're forever, and I should just buy like 200.
Yeah. And then
They're so
stock
cute.
up.
Yeah.
Like Apocalypse.
Yeah.
It's like every time I hear about Rifle Paper Company, I see their stuff everywhere. I see
Yeah.
their stuff everywhere. Like she's at the Minneapolis Institute of Art.
Really?
Yes. And I
Yeah.
was like, na 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 na. And I turned over and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this design. Oh my gosh.
It's amazing. And she's like so recognizable that like I showed my mom her work and she's like, oh, it's so cute. And now like she can spot it anywhere.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah,
it's
that's
very
good branding.
She's
That's your
impressive.
stuff too.
Oh, thank you.
It is.
Thanks.
You're very well branded.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. It's like my number one goal.
So win.
Love branding.
Even like what you're wearing.
Thanks.
Branded.
Colorful today. You know, I can't wear all black all winter. It's too sad.
Oh, I'm wearing.
You're really colorful too.
I know I'm wearing pink with my scarf that my 3-year-old buddy Cole got me.
Oh my
Thanks,
God.
Cole.
I love that. I
From
actually
Target.
have a scarf project I'm going to start weaving today. Like literally after this, I'm going to go get the supplies. I like watched this tutorial. Yeah.
Okay, tell me more.
And my favorite blog is A Beautiful Mess. And they have a weaving, like you literally buy a 6-foot board, a 1 foot by 6 foot board, and you put like nails on it, and then you weave it, and it looks like this, all colorful with oh shoot, I hit the mic, all colorful with tassels and everything, and it's so cute. I'm gonna make one. I decided like for the winter.
You know how to weave?
Not really.
Okay.
It was pretty clear instructions. I have before.
Yeah.
Like in grade school.
Yeah.
But like you make your own loom, kind of.
That's cool.
We'll see how it goes.
I
Yeah.
have been knitting the same sweater for like 4 years.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna finish it on
That'll
our trip
feel really
to Arizona
good. Oh, cool.
because we're gonna be in the car a lot.
Yeah. But then you have to wait till you get home to wear it.
Well, I have to like piece it together too. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
I'm not suave
Like
enough.
arm, yeah.
Yeah, like here's a rectangle. Now it's an arm sleeve. Like,
Oh my God. I've never
gonna
done
be
that.
like
That's
magic.
very complicated.
yeah, it's not gonna happen. I mean, now that I said it, I have to finish it and then wear it one time, and people are gonna be like, "What's that potato sack you're wearing?" I made it. Okay, so inserts and liners for envelopes.
Mhm.
Inserts just meaning insert cards.
Yeah.
So like the more inserts, like we said,
The more you're going to have.
it's gonna, and then
Yeah.
you got a fat stack.
And if you don't have a postage stamp, like go down to your local post office and they can just weigh it for you.
They'll weigh it.
And recommend
Yes.
what you can do.
yes.
Yeah.
And then liners. So a liner is
A liner is like when you open the envelope, it's the beautiful, like the entire back or interior of the envelope is lined, and it's usually like adhered in there.
but it's not actually the entire envelope inside part.
Yeah, because you have to leave the like about half inch around for licking
Adhesive.
and sticking. Yeah, the adhesive.
Yeah.
Best way to say
And
it.
so do you usually just have like a triangle piece?
No, it's like a custom cut because the envelopes that I use have a
Mhm.
rounded corner
Yeah, I
at
love
the
that.
top. So it's all cut, and I have in the past adhered them myself. Because it is, they charge like a good amount of money for adhering it, which I think is a little bit of a
Because a human has to do it, not a bot.
yes.
Minimum
that's why.
wage.
And you can tell a human does it because you look at some of them and you're like, this one looks different than
Yeah.
the others.
This must have been past number 10.
Yeah. But at this point, I've decided everyone is getting them adhered. Like it's not, because some people have even like asked. I have, grown as a wedding stationery designer, and I've been more like, oh, do you want to like attach them yourself? And I'm not really just like offering that as a thing anymore. I'm like, you can just like, if you want them, this is how much it is. Because trust me, you don't want to attach them yourself. It's very tedious and like too perfect, and they come unstuck and everything. But they're so pretty. It adds so much to the envelope.
I have these anniversary cards for my clients. So 2017 brides and grooms, you'll be getting one. And when you open it up, it's a picture of me. And it's like, happy anniversary.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I never even thought about a photo.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Julie with Champagne Press. Have you met her yet?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love her. She's so nice.
Also from Arizona.
I met her at from Arizona, and I feel bad for her because I know she really like misses it a lot.
And so you're like, oh, I'm there again.
Yeah, I'm sure she's like,
Shut up.
you bitch.
I think they just went or something.
I think they did too. She is so sweet. I met her at the Your Own Way conference, and she's another great example of branding because I love going to Stillwater.
Yeah.
And I like, she comes up to me and she's like, oh, I have a stationery business in Stillwater. I'm like, do you have a brick building like on this one street, like before you get to the main road? And she's like, yeah, that's me. And I'm like, I totally know where you are. And she's really nice. Like, I was like, oh my God, I was really happy that she came up to me. Yeah. And she told me to stop in there. I literally have been gone so much, but I need to go do that.
Yeah, you've been gone every day.
Yeah.
Travel land. Yeah. Because you're like, I can't be here when it snows.
Yeah. It's so funny. I went to Arizona before the first like below zero weather, and then I also didn't like get back until after the snowstorm. Yep. The 2-day snowstorm. Yep. So I like totally dodged all of
everything.
It.
I know. You're safe. Yeah. You haven't had to drive while it's been snowing?
Not really.
That's good. Mm-mm. Usually it snows on recording days, so thank you for the good weather. It's like, honestly, like every time it snows.
Really? How funny.
Yes. Okay, so that's all we need to know about envelopes. Sizes of envelopes, stamps, inserts, and liners. And we talked a little bit about where you can get stamps. Etsy is a good resource. Also, they can just, DM you on Instagram. Like, hey, holla, where we get those stamps.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not what you sound like, listener. Anyways, what about the elements of a place setting at your wedding reception when it comes to paper needs?
Sure. So menu we touched on, not necessary per se, but
you should communicate to your guests what it is they're going to be eating, because guests will ask you. And do for themselves, it is a little less obnoxious when they're like, and what's the entree, and what kind of protein is there? And you're like, have you ever said what kind of protein is there ever in your life except for at a wedding?
Yeah. Like, no. Or you could do, if you don't want to do an individual menu card, I do often do for guests like a menu sign. Yes. So we'll do it like 8x10, so it can be framed, or it'll be something like a hand lettered sign. Because we didn't even touch on that too. Like, I do a lot of other services like favors and wedding signage when they enter, and there's so much you can do.
So let's talk about dinner table, and then we'll expand.
Sure.
So there's the menu.
The menu and the place card.
Yes.
Most typical. I've also done coasters, which were like for the place setting, but then also their gift to take home with art prints that match their wedding color scheme.
What were they, like, thicker?
Yeah, so they were like it's like a hard plastic with the art that's sealed, waterproof, and then the back is cork. You can do like a foam back one too, but that was really fun. I did those through. I have really a wonderful friend who's a wedding planner in Arizona, and she'll like pull me in for projects. She'll be like, oh, it's usually like one. It's like the stationery suite, or like let's do the place cards, or let's do this, and we did the coasters for her.
Oh, that's so cool. Cute.
Yeah.
You guys, right now I'm taking notes for you because Haley is at class like she should be. And when I take notes, I doodle. So I'm drawing an excellent silverware set.
Yes.
That will not be in the show notes.
It's beautiful.
But if you're watching on YouTube, here it is. All right. So we've got the menu. You can do something fun like a place or a coaster. You can have a place card. Mm-hmm. So important distinction. A place card stays at the table, and that designates their place. So if you are assigning people to seats at tables, the place card would be preset.
Yes, and then you would also ideally have a table or a sign telling them at least which table they're at.
So if you were assigning them to seats and the place card was preset at the table, you would have a sign for guest seat assignments that would be alphabetized by name with their table number next to their name.
Yes.
If you are doing, this is what people get this a little bit confused. If you're doing instead a table with cards on them, and so they go to the table that is alphabetized and they grab the card, and the card says their table number, then that is an escort card. And that escorts them to the table. Then you can also have a place card waiting for them at the table if you're still assigning seats, or you just have them pick their own seat at the table. So either way, you have to tell guests where to sit.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not doing any assigned seats, maybe have a reserved sign, and that would take the place of a table number. And you would want to reserve tables for family members.
Yes.
Like your mom doesn't want to have to ask your friends from college if she can sit at their table because she happens to be your mom.
Yeah.
So maybe have reserve signs. If you're doing any kind of head table, I always suggest assigning seats to your bridal party, so that it's not awkward, because then they're like, well, Stacy, you got to stand next to her. Can I sit next to her for dinner? And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Second grade.
Personally, I think if someone tells you where to sit, it's a little bit nicer.
It is.
Sometimes, because you're just like,
as long as there's an open bar, who cares who you sit by?
No, yeah.
But extroverted.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the
layout
meat and potatoes.
And the table number.
Yep, table number.
Can be designed. It can be hand painted. It can be an art print. It can be.
I love the idea of a print, and then they get to take it home.
Mm-hmm.
And some venues, guys, some venues will have table number stands. So ask them before going to Michael's and buying the David Tutera, which are really cute, those gold little ones. But just ask, because then it's one less thing that you have to transport to the venue, one less thing that you have to set up. Most caterers should do your table numbers for you. They will not do your place cards.
Mm-mm.
They will not do your escort card table. Mm-mm. Unless they're a very nice country club like Golden Valley, they will not do it. Mm-mm. They will do menus. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. This is how it goes.
It's very interesting.
But then just have your planner or day of coordinator do all of that, because then it gives them something to do, and they're kind of amidst all of the vendors that are setting up, so they can kind of be in the action but not just standing around looking like a cruise ship director. Hurry along. Hurry along. We'll be setting sail shortly. That's not what they say. So that is the whole room. Let's then take one step back and talk about like additional stationery needs.
Yeah. And here, like, the sky is kind of the limit. I'll, like, run through them, and then if we want to, like, talk about them further, we can. You could do a welcome sign, you know, welcome to the wedding of, with your names. There can be, I have done quite a few guest books in different forms. So I've had one where, like, I painted the cover of a leather guest book, and then they signed it, and so it matched their whole wedding suite. I have also done quite a few, either a big art print or an original painting, and then leaving either enough white space around the art or like matting the art with a white mat, and then their guests sign that. So then they can just have a guest book to hang that they can also sign. Yeah. You could also have them like sign the glass. And then the mat is nice, because if you ever decided like, okay, this looks like a college like signature thing.
When you mature and get older.
Yeah, you might want to take the art out. But I did one that was like a really pretty gold cactus, and it said their names and their wedding date, and then they always had that, and then the guests signed around it.
Yeah, and then so it's a piece for your home that signifies.
You could even have them do it on the back if you wanted to, because you can always like pop the frame off and like look at it.
Yeah, you won't do that. Yep. I feel like though, when you have people sign the mat, like I have one that I just remember minimalism. It gave up and like we're gonna burn it because we burn all of our paper stuff when we go camping. Anyways, so it's a cheerleading photo, and around on the mat everyone signed it, and it was really difficult to be like, okay, like I can give this up. I don't talk to any of these people. Sorry, Shannon and Alex.
Yeah. It's hard,
but you know, like it is something meaningful that you will want to keep for a while.
Yeah, but you could always have the art print just like framed, and then have like the guest book if you want it more like tucked away or something.
Yeah, and then like a sign that says guest book.
So you'll so then there's so many little things you can do. The guest book sign, the gifts and cards sign. I even had a friend who had like a money jar that was just like honeymoon jar if you wanted to like throw it in. Yeah.
And just to clarify, if people are listening, all you people, if you are listening and saying, this sounds ridiculous, this is too much paper things, it's not. Unless you have butler service, so you have like 8 butlers stationed around the place, people don't know what to do.
No.
And they need direction. And yes, at every wedding, you sign a guest book, most likely. So people should know, but they like having that direction, and they like having like the signage, or, you know, Monsieur Butler being like, let her write this way, madam. The guest book. Please sign it. You know, and you're probably not going to have someone like that. And then the other argument might be like, oh, well, we can just have our ushers do that. Your ushers are probably introverted, and you don't know it. And they're not going to say one peep unless someone comes up pokes them in the face because they're staring off like a Buckingham Palace patrol guy and says, "Where do I put my card?"
Yeah. And I just think unless you're going to a wedding, I think it's likely that majority of your guests, I guess not majority, but you might go to a wedding where like you only know the bride and groom and like one other person. And like, I just think if you can make it as seamless as possible where like you don't have to be like feeling uncomfortable and like, oh, where does this go? Yeah.
This is the ceremony area.
Yeah. You want to feel welcome. You want to feel like informed. And it sounds like so silly, but I just think it's like about the guest experience. I don't know. As much as a wedding is about you, I really think it's like a chance to have a big party and like, why not make it.
Treat them nice.
Yeah.
Like,
I think so. If they're gonna fly there, I mean, like, think about like if you sit down and think about how much money someone spends to get to your wedding, get dressed, and give you a gift, and like have a hotel, like you want to give them a nice.
It's
time.
even. You think it's not because you're spending a bigger chunk, but it's pretty much even.
Yes. Like not just like their wedding gift that they give you, like they're spending a lot to come be with you.
Yeah. What if they have kids? They have to get a babysitter.
Yeah.
Because you're having a kids-free wedding.
Yeah.
Kudos to you.
So.
It's our thing to do.
Yeah.
Have you been to a lot of weddings with kids? What's the trend amongst your friends? Because your friends are younger like you, so maybe they have older siblings that have kids, but likely.
You know what? The one I just went to, I don't think there was any kids except for like a newborn baby.
Yeah.
But then the other one, there were actually maybe the only kids were the flower girls.
And then they left early.
So yeah, I guess it was kind of adult only.
Yeah. It's not, I feel like you don't notice as much when there aren't kids there, but you notice when there are because you can't hear all the vows, someone's crying, there's like always children on the dance floor, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
It's funny, I didn't even think about that. I'm going to 3 more weddings, so I'll have to pay attention.
Oh yeah, do.
Yeah.
Then we'll have you back on and we'll grill you. We'll be like, what did you say to those children?
I feel like I can be on that show, 4 Weddings. On TLC where you like rate everyone because I'm going to 5 this year.
Yes.
And I actually have
Should we make a scorecard?
Yeah,
That's
we
so
should.
mean.
We should. That would be too mean for my friends.
Not what it's about.
I did start like a note in my phone though
about what you want,
what I want, what I don't want.
Yeah.
Because I like not that my friends did anything wrong, but I have ideas now.
You're a different
like
person.
my friend DIY'd. My friend is like a DIY queen, but you can't tell it's DIY'd because she's so good at it. She did like mason jars with florals in them and then like hung them off of the center chairs. And it did not look DIY. And then like her dad built her an altar and all this stuff. It was so cool. But I was like, I took a note. I was like, flowers on the chairs. Yes.
Love it. Yes.
Certain things. It was cool.
Yeah. It's just, it's nothing against your friends. It's just you are different people and you like different things.
Yeah.
Like you like different colors and different flowers.
Yeah.
And different styles. Yeah. So you're like, oh, I like that, but I don't really want ivory napkins.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so we've got our welcome sign, guest book with maybe a sign saying that it is the guest book, card box sign.
We said menu sign. A bar sign is really nice to know what drinks you can get, unless you have like a bartender, but you might have like a signature drink, which is really fun.
I feel like a bar menu is mandatory because people do not know what is hosted, what isn't, and they're not going to ask before the wedding either, it's just kind of like an etiquette faux pas. Like you don't write back on your RSVP card, expecting to and what's to drink. Like, will there be old fashions? Question mark. You know, like you don't write that on their wedding website guest book or anything like that. So I think it is nice to kind of give people a heads up. And just 2 signs, they're 5x7s. Like that's not going to break your bank, break your budget.
And you could even say like if the open bar is going to close at like 10 and your wedding goes till 1, that's a really simple way to do it without having to be like, oh, the bar's closing now.
Yes.
Let me the DJ can say that, but it's still less
sometimes
awkward.
It's tacky. Yeah. I've been at some weddings with some tacky DJs where they're like, ladies and gentlemen, the bar is now closing. And it's like,
oh,
okay, like, back to our college dorms
like at a
we
club?
go.
Yeah. Last call.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, so bar menu, bar sign. Also for the ceremony, you could have individual programs or you could have one large sign that has like the program. I would say don't save your programs till last. I always say that because you have pretty much all the elements of your program like pretty quickly. And especially after you meet with your officiant, done. Your programs can be done. So why would you wait to give your stationer or to collect the information and design them yourselves?
Yeah.
Like, just
That's another place where you
Print
could put an art print on the back too if you don't want them to just like toss it afterwards.
And people would keep them.
Yeah.
And then if you are doing that, maybe then think about doing a traditional 5x7 instead of what's
because a lot of times you would do like a
ones.
long one, like you could even do like a 3x9 or something. You could go
It'd be
pretty tall.
cool if you. This is an idea. 8.5x11, chopped in half, and one half is the program, and the other half is like the table number or something like that. And then they put them together to make a print.
No, I was thinking. It's funny you say that because I was thinking like, what if everyone's program, like each piece was like a different piece of art, and when you like laid them all together after the wedding,
Was like a mural,
it was like a big
or
mural.
something.
Yeah, which I was like, then you'd have to do everyone like hand painted because you can't do like.
I don't
like
give a shit. Someone do that.
Printing.
Someone do it. Somebody do it.
And like they go like stick it on their like it has like a little code. It says like A1.
Yes.
They like go put it up. That'd be so cool if it was like a photo of you, like you and your fiance, or like your wedding date or something.
Something.
That'd be so cute. I love that.
I like that.
My
idea.
friends had like a big, like a vintage, like a movie like not a movie billboard, but like just like where you can change out the numbers like at a gas station or whatever.
that's
and it
called.
said like their wedding date and like Becky and Scott. It was really cute.
I think that's cute. There's a couple venues in Minnesota where they have boards. What are those called?
Letter boards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they change out the letters for when there's a wedding there.
So cool.
So cute. Actually, I think that was in Grand Forks too. I think I went to a wedding that they did that. Anyways, what about unique guest assignment displays?
I feel like some of the most unique I've seen are, which I haven't done personally, like a big acrylic, like plexiglass ones, which are really cool, where it's like written on, and you can like put it against another big piece of plexi. Like, I haven't done that personally. I could do it. It's like I'm down for whatever. What did I have? Like I said, I have one client right now who's thinking about like the mountain table numbers, and then they would have like the cardboard where like the picture of the mountain was on the back, so it like matched with their name. I just thought of this too. I really
love
think
that.
luggage tags would be really cool if you like had like their name on it or something, and it
like
told
a
you
suitcase display.
I follow a wedding planner in Arizona, Sassy Suarez. I saw that. I think their wedding was travel themed, and every guest got this cool, it was like a brass vintage looking airplane, but it was a bottle opener. And then there was a tag like looped onto it with their name, and like that might have been just their favor though, but you could put like their table number on that too. It'd be so easy. And it was really cute. Yeah. That was really cute.
Episode 11, My Brides from October, talked about their guest place cards, and they had bought mugs and then like assigned the mugs to people. So like mine was the damn I'm good.
That was it.
And then there are like there's a ton of cat ones. There's a lot of cat ones. There's a lot of Harry Potter ones. And so they were individual, and then on it would say like an animal, and they did salt and pepper shakers as their table numbers. So it wasn't like there's no numbers. It was like, like 2 penguins, salt and pepper shakers. So your tag would say your name and then penguins. And so you'd be at the penguin
Minnesota
table.
wedding? I just think like matching salt shakers are like salt and pepper shakers, like cute ones, are like the biggest. That's like such a Minnesota thing to me. Because there's I don't know where it is. Maybe it's in Arizona. There's some place like there's a restaurant I've been to, and you walk in and it's like all this huge collection of matching like little ones. I think that's so cute.
I can't think of if I've seen that.
Yeah, it might be Arizona. Maybe it's just like a vintage thing. I just think that's
adorable. Maybe it's just a Paige thing.
I love it.
It just follows you around.
Yeah, I have ladybug ones right now, so I guess I'm one of those people.
They had a lot of like kissing ones too, or
so
not
cute.
Maybe not a lot. And they had one that was like a bear climbing a tree. It was, I don't know, like really unique ones.
That's so
hedgehogs.
Cute.
Let's talk about your relationship, because I feel like listeners want to hear about like you working on weddings, and then does that like affect how
not being married or
how you view like maybe like anticipatory feelings
Yes.
That kind of stuff. Because you talk about it a lot. When you go to weddings together, you're like, hey, we're at a wedding.
Yeah. We're here. Yeah. So, well, my boyfriend and I plan to get married, but he is pursuing his PhD at the University of Minnesota right now, and it's a 5-year program, and he's on his second semester of his first year.
Yeah.
So, and it's worked out very well. Like, I feel like some girls might be like, oh my God, that's like so far away. So I'm 25, so we'll probably get married when we're 31. And
see, I feel like actually people are waiting to
longer.
Yep, to get married until they're a little bit older. So I feel like that, like, I think you're typical.
Yeah.
Like, why do we want to get married right now when we are giving University of Minnesota all our money?
Yeah. But it's funny because I do feel like all of my friends I know that are like in relationships, I feel like are either married, engaged, or getting married this year. And I feel like my only friends, well, that's not true. I do feel like the majority of my friends that aren't like married yet are like in the first like year or two of like dating someone. So I do feel like everyone around my age is like married, which is really interesting.
Yeah, you're like,
but
I
do feel like
couple.
I still agree though the trend is like that. Yeah. But personally, I've never been in a rush because my parents got married at. My dad was 25. My mom was 30. So I've always been like, I'll be 30. And then my mom had me at 35. And I'm like, okay, like I like the timeline, you know?
You have time.
And like, I don't know. I feel excited that I have like 5 more years to, I don't know, like systemize my business and like get some help or, you know.
And then
like,
maybe you take like 2 months for your honeymoon.
Totally.
Or something.
Yeah. My goal is 3. I really want to do that.
Yes. I was not far off.
My goal, I really want to time it so that Jake graduates.
Yeah.
And we can go on our honeymoon and like he doesn't have to like report back to work
for
anywhere.
a job.
Yeah. And we can just like travel. Cute. But he was like, we'll see. Maybe a month. I'm like, maybe
just
3.
keep working. Just keep working on it.
Yeah.
It's taken me a while to, because we go on vacations all the time, to work my husband up from like a week. Like I think a week is like, sorry everyone, a pointless vacation. I think it's pointless. Like you get there and then you leave. Like and there's like so much anticipation and then it's done. Yeah. So like we're going for a month and then every year for our anniversary, instead of doing a honeymoon, we go on a trip and we just booked all of our stuff like the other day because we camp a lot. And so 6 months out you have to camp or you have to book, otherwise there's no campsites. And we're going for 2 weeks. And I was like, good job.
I love that because I feel like anytime I travel, I want to feel like I really know the place.
Yeah.
A lot.
We're going back to Washington, but we're going to camp at Mount Rainier, never camped there. I don't know why. And then Olympic National Forest, which
cool.
I have camped in, but I think we're going to a place that I've never been. And then we'll stay in Seattle and Port Townsend and cuties.
So I love Seattle. That's the only place I've been to in Washington, but I really like it. It reminds me of Duluth.
Yeah, see? Port,
like you said.
Harbor.
Yeah.
That's Puget Sound, but
it's
it's a different feeling.
Yeah.
Because when you're on Lake Superior, it's like vast and you can't see land on the other side.
Amazing.
But when you're in Seattle, you're like, oh, I can see 60 islands.
Yeah.
From this one spot. That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit more, because you mentioned your parents, about having your parents help you in your life endeavors, which I feel like is really important for brides and grooms, especially if you are getting married at a later age. Your parents are probably super anxious for you to hit your next life stage, and they do want to help and they do want to be involved. So kind of talk us through like how you do that with your business and life.
Sure. So yeah, my parents are like so supportive. Like I always say, it's like cheesy, but like I wouldn't be here without them. But like they really encourage me a lot, and they're like, you can do whatever you want, and like this is great. My dad's very entrepreneurial mindset, so he wanted me to do it a lot. And for like a long time, I was doing everything on my own, and then I'm like not the kind of person that would like ask for help. Like I don't hire rarely people to help or anything, and like I wouldn't normally like ask for that. And I remember like at one point my dad was like, do you need help with anything? Because like it seemed like you have a lot going on and like you're really busy and you always talk about how busy you are. And I was like, well, sure. So I want to say it was is it 2018? So I want to say in 2016. Yeah. My dad started like coming over to my condo that I lived at like pretty regularly. And I would have like, if I had like orders, I would either have them like ready for him to take to the post office. Even though I could do like pickup, he likes to go. My dad is like my dad likes to help people, and he likes to be busy, so he wanted to. And then for a while there, when I would have like I was doing a lot of orders, he would come over and we would have like an hour or two
like fulfillment
session together, and then he would take them all. And he started also helping me with like packaging like greeting cards, because I usually order like 100, 200 at a time, and like if you can do that, or packaging like pins, 100 at a time is like easy. So that was just like awesome. And now my parents still help me a ton. So I literally would be screwed if I had to like bring my inventory like back and forth when I would travel. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Would like probably be impossible, because I have like so many different art prints and the packaging and everything.
Right.
So my parents still help me with all fulfillment and everything, and my dad, and like wholesale and stuff, which is so cool. It's like I would lose it without. So as far as like parents wanting to help you, like I've really learned to like accept that help, and like I really like spending time with my parents. We're really close, so it's very fun. And I'm sure they're gonna be like the next steps along the way, like when I get married and have kids and stuff, they'll want to like be involved.
I think it's an important distinction too. The things that they're helping you with is not necessarily like anything to do with the creative process, or
not really
like painting or any of that stuff. Really, or designing, what they're helping you with is kind of these tasks that are a time suck.
Totally. And things that I don't need to be doing. And I really feel grateful that like, you know, transitioning to being in Minnesota more often, a lot of the time, I really feel grateful for that, because I realize like because now when I'm in Arizona, like even though my parents can help me, I like to like pick up the slack and do a lot of it while I'm there, because I'm like, if I'm here, I should do it.
Yeah.
You know, but I can feel the difference so much in my day when I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I have like a bunch of orders to pack today, versus when I'm like just send stuff to my dad and he helps me. So being in Minnesota really helped me learn like how delegating something is like the best thing ever.
Yeah. And I think too, okay, so as that applies to wedding planning, is no, maybe don't ask your mom what color should our linen be. But when it comes, if you like ordered your linen online, your mom can launder and iron them so that they're not wrinkled. Like,
and I guess people's parents differ, but I feel like a lot of parents want to do those things help. And they want to be involved.
I think so too.
They could help you stuff your invitations, like you said, and it gets a little complicated when you're starting to. It's like too many hens in the hen house when you're starting to ask them for like all their color opinions and every little thing. I would say try to keep that between like you and your fiance, just because not to be like mean like toward them, but it just starts to be like a lot. You know,
and then you don't want to second guess, or that's what you were saying about the real thing that takes time is making decisions. So the more people you get involved in the decision making process, the more difficult and drawn out that process could be.
Yeah, so just like buy it and then they're doing it.
Yeah,
like don't include them in the buying.
Yes, I think that is important. My parents helped me a ton with my wedding stuff. I'm so dated. I say this every episode, but none of the things I thought were really pretty and cool, people today think are pretty and cool. Like, I would never put any of my wedding on Pinterest.
But it's funny because don't they say that you're supposed to do like super on trend things so that your stuff looks dated? Don't they? Have you ever heard that? I have heard that you should pick the most like on trend wedding dress so that like in 40 years it looks really silly, like how your parents looked in the 80s when they had like the big hair and shoulder pads in their wedding dresses and stuff.
Okay.
And I think that's like kind of funny. I kind of like that.
Well, I had wine bottles as centerpieces that we like painted. And I had eggplant, and I had burlap, and you know, like all these signature
the
things.
Rustic thing, yeah.
I had a photo booth. I had a candy bar.
I love a candy bar.
An elevated head table. All of the things, but a lot of DIY stuff. And instead of taking on a lot of DIY for the entire wedding, I had a friend that helped with stationery, which I'm super grateful to her for. Instead of taking on like, okay, we have 220 guests, I have to DIY every single thing that they're getting. I did a lot of DIY just for my bridal party.
Oh, I like that too.
Because then you're kind of
special.
I don't want to say getting it out of your system, but then you can be crafty, but maybe only for 6 people instead of 220. And then you'll feel more successful at the end of the day. Totally. Instead of like, you know, yay, I did 220 menus, but they look like poop. It's like, yay, I did 6 hangers and they look amazing.
Because I do think the multiplier is like a new skill set that you have to like oil over time.
Right.
I don't know. Like when
Practice
I first
makes
started,
perfect.
when I first started lettering envelopes, I would have to do it over like 7 days.
Right.
And now I can do it in like 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just it's a weird skill set. It's just practice.
And what a good thing to say too. Like, listeners, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Even Paige Poppy takes 2 days to letter, your invitations.
Yeah, and I still do it now, but now I can do it in 2 days. But I used to be like, okay, how many of these can I do before my hand starts hurting?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna stop myself there. Like I had a client who we had like a huge timeline, so I was like, I think I was doing like 10, and then my hand would hurt. So I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do 10 a day, and she had like 60 guests or 60 suites.
Right.
So 6 days.
Right.
But now I can do like 100, or I think I did 80 in 2 days. But 40 is my limit now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do 1.
Yeah.
Traced.
Tracing is another skill.
Oh, I'm so good at tracing. I could trace anything off of Google Images.
Oh.
Anything. Anything with lines.
Do you ever like do it like on your computer screen?
Yep. My husband's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Nothing." I'm not touching the screen. It's fine.
Oh yeah. Is he like picky? My boyfriend's always like, "Do not touch the computer screen." I'm like,
no, I don't know.
I always touch it. I don't know why.
My mom does. I'm like, "Mom, this is not a touch screen." She's like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry." She doesn't talk like that. I always say she does. All right. Any advice that you would like to impart on to brides and grooms about their wedding? Stationery or just in general? A life lesson? An Arizona lesson?
Oh.
A recommendation?
I have a couple things. One, can I do a couple things?
Oh my gosh, as many as you want.
Okay. I think one thing I like to tell people is
Time's
your
up.
state. What? I'm like a really gullible person, so I thought you were serious.
I could not restrain myself.
Okay. I totally believed you. I was like, oh, I'm done. I always like to tell people, my clients, that the stationery is one place in your wedding where you can really have a lot of fun, because it's not going to get photographed next to your face, or like possibly your photographer might not photograph it. Like it's something that's getting in the mail. So if your like whole wedding is like blush and like white and that's it, and green like leaves, you could still make your wedding suite like hot pink and like reds and like different shades of green and make it like fun and punchy. Like it doesn't need to be like totally like minimal and restrained. I say that coming from someone who's like a very colorful artist.
Yes.
But I do think that there's room to play. Like even if your invitation has like multicolored pom-poms on it, you don't need to have like a multicolored pom-pom backdrop to be photographed in front of.
Right.
So it's fun. And
just saying, you're not being judged based on how well you adhere to a color palette for your wedding.
No. And think about like how rarely your guests probably get like fun in the mail. It's usually like bills.
The ugliest.
Yeah.
The ugliest invitations.
So if they
I've
like
gotten.
yeah. If you open it and it's like a party in the mail, they're going to be like so excited. So that brings in my second point, which your stationery is like the first touch point you have. So I think of it like when you're like a business owner, like the first touch point you have with your client. It's the first touch point you have your guests for the wedding, especially if you're doing like a save the date. And that is your chance to make them excited for your wedding. Like we said, they're going to be spending a lot of money, so you want them to be excited to come. And I also like to think of it as like a procession. I talk about this with my clients a lot. Like the save the date can be kind of like the first like taste. And then like they open the envelope and like you know what like maybe it only has like a few of the colors or something. Or maybe it's just some cactus, and then like when they get their actual suite, it's like cacti and floral and like crazy, and like their invitation's more colorful and stuff. And then you still have the procession of like, then the wedding is like the big event, and then you have the gifts that they get, and the place card, and then a thank you note can tie in. We didn't talk about thank you notes, but I do that all the time for my clients too.
Send thank you cards. Otherwise, Josie's gonna come knocking at your door saying your etiquette.
If you go to a wedding and you don't get a thank you note, that's pretty bad.
I'm going to your door and knocking on it.
I'm from a thank you note family. Like you have to, or my thank you note mom, I guess. But yeah, and then a lot of times for my clients, we will do it ahead of time, so it's ordered, it's done. That's one thing they're not thinking about when they get back from their honeymoon. Like they literally can sit down and do it.
Yes.
So that's like the last touch point, and that can be kind of like the end note to like the song of your wedding, and like it still kind of is in the theme, and it's like simple, and it says like you can even say like love Jake and Paige, like on the back.
Yeah.
Adorable. So I think those are my main two things, is like the stationery, matters, and it can be fun. You can save it for art, and don't be scared of having fun with it.
I think that is such a good point, though. It's kind of like going to the beach and not wearing sunscreen. Like, you'll still have fun at the beach, but you might not feel as great about it afterwards. Like, a wedding without stationery, like, everyone will still have, like, a great time, but they won't feel as, like, great about it at the end.
Yeah. And like I said, I really feel like your wedding is, of course, about you, and you should, like, keep it that way. Like, you shouldn't get, like, too caught up in the details, but I think a huge component is, like, making your guests feel loved and excited and, like, want to. I really think a lot of it is, like, helping your guests get to know you as a couple. Agreed. Because maybe they don't know, like, your spouse. I didn't talk about this, but, like, when I do my own stationery one day, I really plan on doing, like, talking about more of, like, our story of, like, what we like, and, like,
you're gonna have a multi-page invite.
It'll be like I either want to do like a booklet or an accordion fold thing that's like the story goes across the panels.
It is gonna be
I want someone to hire me to do that.
Matt, picture, like, words. Yeah.
Yes, that's literally me. Maybe it'll come in like a box.
Butterfly flies out.
My wedding budget, like 25% stationery.
We're getting eloped, but we wanted to send you all invitations.
Here's a book about us. But it's just like it's like your uncle in Minnesota might not have ever met your boyfriend before.
Right.
And now they're like sitting at your wedding and they're like, why do I care?
And I think it's good too, the more kind of they can get a taste or a feel for who you are as a couple, the better their gift decision might be, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of, sorry if this is rude, middle-aged adults don't give gifts that are on your registry.
Yes.
So do you want, like, a bread bowl or do you want hiking boots? Like,
yeah. I've had from friends now, I hear that it's like you have to, like, twist people's arms. Because a lot of people are going on the route of, like, I only want money for my honeymoon.
Yeah.
You know, or, like.
But people want to buy you a thing.
And they really want
culture.
to. Yeah. So my friend did, like, the honeymoon or home renovations or special photo albums. And then she had, like, one Amazon page that was, like, we want one of these 8 things. Because she's a little bit more minimal, too.
Yeah.
And it was very practical, like a slow cooker or, like, one of these recipe books, you know.
Right.
Cookbooks.
Recipe books. No big deal. Same difference. Yeah, I like all of that. Okay, where can listeners find you on the interweb?
Sure. So the best place to find me is my website, which is paigepoppe.com. And my last name is Poppe, like the flower, but with an E. And that's like the hub. You can find my portfolio, my blog, and links to everything. But I am very active on Instagram. So I would say @PaigePoppe is where you can find me. And yeah, my Instagram story is kind of like a daily vlog in that sense. And 90% of the time, I really try to make sure my email list gets like the first dibs on things. But sometimes I'm just like too excited and I share it on Instagram.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like those, didn't you have a new pin that came out and you put that on Instagram?
Yeah, everything new goes there.
Also YouTube.
Yes, I'm very funny. My goal for 2018 was to do one video a week, like the
holding you accountable.
Yeah, and I've done. It's either 1 or 2 videos. I have a video going up today, actually.
Let's pretend like this is the 3rd week of January.
We'll pretend. I don't. It's not because I'm like lazy or like I couldn't get it together. I actually just feel like I don't know, like the biggest areas I want to concentrate right now aren't video, actually. So because I used to be more like daily vlogging and stuff, but I've really been like focusing on my wedding stationery business and then like designing new products, and like video doesn't always feed into that. So
right,
I feel like I'm not doing it for good reason.
Paige, you should be invited to your weddings, and then you can vlog about like, here's the stationery on the table that they just set up.
I would love that. I got invited to one of my first clients' wedding, and it was a destination wedding in Mexico. It was when I say it was stunning, it was like, I'm not kidding you, the dance floor and the table runners matched. Like they were like a print that she like got on both. The flowers hung from the ceiling. The like bride and groom chairs were like those wicker chairs with like florals. Yeah. And I couldn't go because I had already committed to do like a 3-day art event like in Tempe. So I couldn't go. I had to say no. And me and my boyfriend were both invited. And like looking back, in some ways, I should tell her this. I like wish I would have just gone to her wedding instead and been like, but I think I had already paid for it, and it was like it was like $500.
It's okay.
Yeah.
No regrets.
Yeah.
No regrets.
It was so cool. I would love to get invited to more.
Yeah. FYI, brides and grooms listening.
maybe in 2019 because I'm already going to so many weddings.
So any weddings 2019 or later.
Yes, please call me.
Awesome. Well, I end every episode with a high five. So thank you for coming on.
I better do my right hand so we actually hit each other.
Thanks, Paige.
Thank you.
Sure. I want to go to more weddings.
You do?
That.
But don't you always go for all your clients?
Yeah, that I'm not working.
Oh, yeah.
I had a friend, Lane, Palm Designs. She was on.
I follow her.
Yes, and we were talking about her wedding, which was at Pica, which is like a splendid venue. And I was asking her like who her caterers were, and she was kind of like, oh, I'm sorry you couldn't be invited. Like, kind of felt bad. And it's like, oh my gosh, you shouldn't feel bad. Like, we just met. Like, why would you feel bad? And she told me that her caterers were Gastro Truck, and I love them, and I've helped Catherine before, so I was like, okay, well, I'll just come to your wedding as a vendor. And so I like helped with like serving.
That's awesome.
It was like amazing.
I really like what was her venue?
Pica.
Okay, because there's another one. What's like the Metalworks one?
Machine Shop.
I thought she got married there, but she didn't. Because
No.
I've seen her. She's been sharing a lot of her wedding pictures on Instagram lately.
Yeah. She did her first look, or I think her first look at Heyyo Hotel, which is kind of like in that neighborhood. I mean, not quite, but
cool.
More downtowny.
Cool.
Pica's St. Paul, like off of University.
Cool. That's so fun though that you got to go.
I know.
Do you have like cousins who are gonna get married?
I don't really talk to my cousins.
No.
Sorry.
I also feel like I looked at I hope it was okay. I looked at the camera like so many times.
Oh,
I think
that I don't care.
Okay, cool.
YouTube, do you care? Comment below if Paige is looking at you was annoying.
It's like, is this supposed to be like one of those things where like I don't know they're filming me?
Yeah. No.
Oh, good.
Yay! Because I never look unless I'm talking to you. Then I look.
What is the venue? I am near, like, I'm in Northeast, so it's like St. Anthony, Maine. And
Showgirls?
No, it's
Solar
by Alchemy, like the workout place. But
That's
it's
Machine Shop.
That's Machine Shop right there. Okay.
Machine Shop, and then like Minneapolis Event Center.
Okay.
And then there's
That's so funny because I've been seeing the Instagram and I was like, this is such a cool venue. I love it.
Right.
But I didn't know it was right
attached
there.
to Alchemy.
Yeah, and because I went over there like every day this summer and this fall, like because I can just walk over there. It's like 15 minutes.
Do you guys live in an artist loft?
No, I
You live in
tried
a
to live
house.
there, and did you know they have like a
Cap.
maximum
What you can
income?
make. Yes.
Yeah, and then like it's
Which
for
I
two
love.
people. It's cool.
They're all lofts.
It's funny because like what they say you can make for two people, I don't feel like it's enough money for two people to live on.
Is it like 30? 30,000?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
it's like
I mean, it's above like welfare, but
yeah. I guess my boyfriend being on like a student salary doesn't make that much anyway, but
you
but
could
for
qualify.
two people, it's
You
like
couldn't qualify. Your
Yeah.
business is too successful.
But I saw like so many weddings over there at
Yes.
Machine Shop, and like that's
Yeah, I
where
was
everyone does
there
their
twice.
photos. Like, oh, how funny! I wonder if that was one of them. Like, I would sit at Astor Cafe
Yeah.
and just like watch people do their wedding photos. That's like my favorite.
Cute.
I really love like even before I started doing stationery. I didn't think about doing we didn't talk about this, but I didn't think about doing stationery like on my own. Like people just started approaching me and being like, "I love your art. Will you
That's
do
perfect.
it?" It was perfect, but
It's perfect because then you're not trying to be something that you're not. You know, you're
Totally.
like, okay, cool. Well, you already like my design, and that's what I would design for your wedding
Yeah.
stationery.
it wasn't like, oh, let me do like peonies, you know.
Yeah, I really like muted tones.
No. I have like hot pink envelopes. But like my guilty pleasure is like I watch people's wedding videos online that I don't know.
Yeah, me too.
It's my
I post
favorite
every Wednesday.
activity. Oh my,
Or Friday.
different videos?
Yes. And I
Oh my
like
God. I have one to
hunt.
send you. It's really good. Oh
Who's
my God.
a videographer? Send it to me right now.
I'll send you right now. This girl had like her wedding was like very California Palm Springs casual. She had pizza was like her wedding food.
I love non-traditional wedding food. I just had a dream about a bride last night. Veronica, I dreamt about you. Sorry, that's creepy. And all of your family that I haven't met. And she's doing like fried chicken boxes. Like, so instead of like guests going up to like a buffet line or having plated meals, they'll get a box food.
I like that.
And it's like, okay, here's our ceremony. And then there's nothing like to keep you waiting. You just get your food right away.
I like it.
I like it too.
It's
and
like casual.
I think Xavier was like a little like, oh, is that like not fancy enough? And I was like, who gives an F? Like it's gonna be so memorable, and people are gonna be happy and fed. And like if people are happy and fed,
because like I've learned now. I feel like I'm becoming like a wedding
aficionado.
Yeah, like I'm just like a what is it called when you're like a secret, like a silent shopper? I feel like I'm like a silent shopper. Because I never realized like how long it takes for like a lot of like every table to get up there and get their food. So if everyone just like got the box,
it
you'd
takes
be like
forever.
Cool.
I know, and I think I have convinced them I'm gonna staff so that me and my girls can just like deliver them to the table and just pass them out quick.
I like that. I think I found the video. Maybe.
We could do that.
I know. So okay, I found the girl whose wedding it is, but I have to like scroll and find her videographer. But I'll find it for you because it's the most. It was the most video I saw that was very like fun. Like they started at like this reception, and then they were like went like
go back.
Like it was like they were rewinding a tape, and then they were like doing their vows, and then like I don't know, they were like very partyish. Like the guy like mooned. I should say who it is for live. The girl on Instagram is Kaybae Kaku. K-A-Y. Just type in K-A-Y-B-A-Y. And, like, she's very fun. Like, look, here's them eating their pizza.
Get out.
Yeah. And so, like, the video was
so
super,
cute.
like,
with a birchwood box behind them.
Yeah. My friend has a business in Arizona that she rents those.
Birch boxes?
Yeah.
I think, who does that here? Girl Friday.
Oh, cool.
Sorry if that's not you. Pretty sure. Yeah, I like those birch boxes. I want that in my, like, yard, but it's Minnesota, so maybe
you could pull it in
move
for
to
winter.
New Mexico and then get it. Yeah, New Mexico, that's totally like on our wish list for when we like are done having kids. This is like
really
long-term dreams.
Jake almost went to school there. That was his like other option.
What school?
University of Albuquerque.
Is he engineering?
Medicinal chemistry, like medchem.
Oh, pharmaceuticals.
So Minnesota's program was like really good.
Yeah,
and they had a lot more.
He's so smart to get into that school.
I know, especially with the U.
Are you like really
amazing.
Proud of him every day?
Yeah, it's crazy.
You like walk in, you're like, oh, grand poobah, you're so smart.
It's like over. Like it's just so over. It's amazing. It's over my head. I went to his like lab for the first time the other day. It's like a real lab. It's cool.
What building?
Like Weaver Densford.
Yeah. I took classes there for a bit. Just
that's like his. Luckily, he doesn't have to like leave very much. It was so cute because I went to see his lab, like last week. Yeah. And when we got here in August, he like had like a meeting with one of his like advisors or something. Just because he's very proactive. Like he was like, "Can I have a meeting?" Like he asked for it. Yeah. And I remember like he was all nervous and like didn't want to go in too soon, and like we were like worried about what he was wearing, and like I went to Starbucks and he like because the Starbucks is right there, by the formerly the Commons, the Graduate, and I like went there. Did you know it changed?
No.
It's Graduate now, which I'm a really big fan of the Graduate hotel brand because my friend runs the one in Arizona, but. I went to Starbucks and he like went to his meeting and it was so cute. And then like we were there like a week ago and he was so just like
chill.
Oh, let me go in here. Like here's my lab and like
it is intimidating. It's an intimidating campus. Yeah, and
I forgot how big it is.
Yes,
because I toured it when I was an undergrad.
It's not like recall in like high school and you'd be like, oh, I have to get to class. La, la, la. No, it's like, oh, I have to get to class. I have 15 minutes. I have to freaking truck it. Yeah, and I probably have to take a bus.
Yeah, okay, we were talking to our friend about that because one of the guys in his program was undergrad here. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, I used to have, like, classes on the other side of the river.
Oh, yeah.
Or, like, on the other campus and stuff. Yes. And he'd be like, I just literally couldn't get to class on time.
Never.
And I was like, oh, my God.
I had class, like, yes, I had class on the East Bank, and then I'd have to get to St. Paul, and I'd have to catch this one bus. And if I missed that bus, then I was going to be late. And if I made the bus, then I would be, like, perfectly on time.
It's crazy.
But it's like, yes, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, oh,
it's such a good experience, though. It's a good urban school.
Very. It's very cool. I just love it. I think it's perfect. And I feel like being in Northeast, we're like 2 miles from the school, so I can like go pick them up from school sometimes, like if it's cold. Yeah. But I feel like we're like far away enough that we're not like in Dinkytown. Yeah. You know, because
then you get raped at night.
Oh God. Or like mugged. Yeah. Yeah. They had like I think that people are getting like held at gunpoint and stuff. It's just terrible.
That part could be better. Or don't be hanging out at 2 a.m. on dark streets.
Going to the library.
Basic safety. Yeah, going to the library.
Late night study session.
In your socks. Yes, all of those things.
That is so funny to me. That's a good story.
Oh,
I'm gonna tell
just
Jake that
dumb.
one. Yeah.
That's like in high school, like in the papers, it was like football players were found behind the building smoking cigarettes. Nope, they were smoking weed. Like, you know. But thanks athletics,
30% worse than you think.
Yeah. No big deal if you play football or hockey. You're golden. You get a little buffer. Okay, I think we're good, Ian.
Oh, bye.
It was like a mime wave.